Hello and welcome to The Life You're Made For. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Pinney. Often our world feels reactive, confusing, and chaotic. On this show, we're going to slow down together. Take a breath, listen, and learn. We'll be joined in conversations with influential thinkers who will help us make new connections, understand our unique potential, check the beliefs we hold, and learn how to overcome unexpected challenges. I know that each and every one of us holds our own inner clarity, confidence, and courage, what I call 3C living and leading. So let's go after it together. I'm cheering you on. So one of the things that I find in the work that I do with people is this common theme. Meeting people, what I call the crossroads. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Do I go forward? Do I go backwards? It's this idea of what I call my book, Camping at the Crossroads. And so I love stepping into this space of camping in the crossroads, but it's all about how we transition and transitioning into this space of what's next for me. Transitioning is such a vulnerable process. It can feel lonely. It can feel scary. And that's just the emotional side of it. The practical side of it is you have to figure out how to pay bills. You have to make sure that you're doing the right decision maybe for your family, or is this a temporary short-term solution, or is this a long-term? I mean, all of these huge questions around transitioning. One of the things I really want to speak to is in my doctoral research, I did a qualitative study where I gathered a bunch of people together and I said, help me understand what you did to transition well. And all these participants had to be between the ages of 30 and 50, looking back into their life in their 20s when they were transitioning from school to work, whether they went straight from high school into working or whether they went into high school into college, or whether it was a hybrid of either one of those. I really was looking at this transition period in their life because a lot of the research was saying that we are losing our individuals, particularly our females. They were spiraling down between the ages of 20 and 28. And a lot of it they were attributing to this transitionary period where maybe they had a really high security in their school years, but then as they were transitioning into work or transitioning even into college or college to work, there's a lot of confusion and disorientation, particularly around their identity formation. So I was so curious about this that I said, well, hindsight's 2020. If you look back, what is it that you're seeing that helped you transition well? And maybe what is it you needed that you weren't transitioning well? So I use the term of spiraling up and spiraling down. And here's what I found out. And I think this is what I want to speak to because I'm doing lots of conversations around transition on my podcast. And so I just wanted to give a little context for it. There was 4 areas that helped with the identity formation around transitioning and help people spiral up or was causing them to spiral down. But there's these 4 areas, and I call them the 4 tires, because it's this idea that if we don't check each of our 4 tires, we run the risk of pulling over the side of the road with a flat tire and we cannot move forward in life. And so it's this idea that there's 4 tires we always have to check, particularly when we're transitioning. And honestly, you check them all the time. And then my work that I do, clarity, confidence, courage, as a coach, I'm always checking these 4 tires with people. So the first 2 tires, think about this visual. The front 2 tires are what I call the tires of being. And that's like how you are becoming. And it's fulfillment and affirmation. And let me unpack those a little bit. Those of us who are asking, hey, what really fulfills me? What gives me that drive? What makes me want to get up in the morning? What makes me excited about what I'm doing? That's this level of fulfillment. I mean, if you've read my book, it's that connection of what's the tire swing in our life. The second one was affirmation. What is affirming me? What's my purpose? And it's this idea of internal affirmation and external affirmation. We get this from teachers maybe or parents of, hey, you're doing really good, let's say in your math. And it's this idea that it's external affirmation. And we begin to realize, wow, I'm really good in math. My teacher keeps telling me that. My parents keep telling me that. Well, what starts transitioning from external affirmation is internal affirmation. and beginning to recognize I want to affirm myself. As we grow and mature, it's in the jobs that we take on. It's the projects we say yes or no to. It's what is affirming me and how am I holding that affirmation? And also, where's some of the external affirmation coming from and how am I holding that internal affirmation? So it's a little bit more complex. And you can see these are the first two tires, and this is about being and becoming. So as we transition, what helps us spiral up is monitoring what's fulfilling us and what's affirming us. The back two tires is about doing, and it's growth and achievement. Where do I want to grow and where do I want to achieve? Learning to ask these two questions help us keep ourselves in motion, so to speak, so we're not stuck at the side of the road, to use that metaphor, but it also helps support us in moving forward. If we're not asking where we want to grow and achieve, and this is really more about doing, then we're missing what we need for this transition period. So I think learning how to monitor these four tires is really the beginning of understanding what we need during transition times. Much of our conversation around North America is not about how to transition well. It's about how to keep up with the next change, right? How to support this transition, how to step into this transition, not really checking how's our identity formation doing during this transition time. Are we spiraling up or spiraling down? Monitoring these four tires help you do it. Okay, so let me give you a great example of it. This was actually one of my participants, and I love this story, and I never forgot it. One of these women that I was interviewing for my study, she was a very successful marketer. She was the director of marketing, and she was very successful in the field. But I still remember her saying every night I would come home and cry because I hated my job, but I was good at it. So I kept doing it. I said, well, help me understand during your transitionary period in your 20s, what made you choose marketing? And she said, well, I was talking to my dad, and I always wanted to be an attorney. And I was telling my dad, I'm getting ready to graduate from high school. I'm getting ready to go to law school, and I want to be an attorney. And he looked at me and he said, no daughter of mine is going to be any blankety blank, blank, blank attorney. And then shortly thereafter, he died. So that's what was imprinted in her mind as a young adult. I can't be an attorney. I can do anything else but be an attorney, because that my father had zero respect for that. So you see, this is like affecting that affirmation tire. Also, it's also affecting the fulfillment tire, where she's not giving herself the permission to find the fulfillment where she wants to be fulfilled. She's finding her fulfillment from her father's eyes. And so she was like, well, I have to just listen to that. And you see how her affirmation was connected to the external affirmation of her father, not the internal affirmation that she needed to shift over into, which is typical for a young adult. So her transitionary period began to really focus on those two tires of fulfillment and affirmation as she took her cues from her father. The second thing she began to do is she said, well, who can I model myself after that is really acceptable and successful? She looked over to her mother, and she was super successful in marketing. So she goes, well, I'll go to school and be a marketer. And she went back into the marketing field, and that's where we're looking at the growth and achievement. So she got some level of movement and also even a level of identity, security, and formation during an insecure time where she said, okay, I'll just become very competent in this field because this is actually a better field. And this is where I can grow and achieve. And so she got some level of connection with that and success in that, and felt good about her identity formation. But ultimately, when she secured a position in her vocational years, she was really depressed because it was never what she wanted to do. It wasn't until she decided to quit her marketing job, and you know where this is going, went back to law school. She went back to law school, and then she began to really look at her four tires. This is what fulfills me. This is what affirms me. This is where I need to have my growth and where I need to have my achievement. During that law school period of time, she came top of her class, was very successful. And this is where her story took a really cool turn. She was getting a lot of pressure by her professors to take these high level law offices and these contracts that were being extended to her as being top of her class. And she still remembers going in and interviewing with them. And one of the partners taking her around the law firm saying, we all keep pictures of our family here, ha, 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 because It's a running joke that we'll forget what they look like because we're never home. And she said, I will never do that. And this is where I heard her again, that process of spiraling up and owning her own identity formation. She said, I'm not going to get stuck in trying to go after someone else's fulfillment of my life, someone else's affirmation of my life, someone else's growth, someone else's achievement. You see how she handed her power over 4 tires to someone else? And this isn't about putting down her parents or anything else. We, as parents, and I'm a parent, sometimes we say things and it's not super helpful. So this isn't about bashing parents. It's just about the timing of that was so hard during the identity formation, and her, more importantly, learning to say, I'm going to take that power back. I get to monitor my 4 tires. What fulfills me? What affirms me? Where do I want to grow? Where do I want to achieve? Going back to law school really helped her own identity formation around those 4 tires. So she's in this interview process and realizes, I'm not doing this. If I do this, I'm going to just make them happy again. I'm not going to be fulfilled. It's not going to affirm in the quality of life I want to have. I've got a young kid and I want more, and I want a family quality of life. I'm going to go interview on this little smaller family run law firm down the street. And I'm going to own these 4 tires of where I want fulfillment, where I want to be affirmed, where I want to grow, and where I want to achieve. And again, this is usually what happens as we get a little older and we begin the process of understanding these 4 tires. I want to give you this for the research because if it's kind of a shortcut. If you're aware of these 4 tires, when you're transitioning and you're checking those, and in the work that I do, I'm kind of kicking everyone's tires saying, okay, is this tire low? Is this tire high? Sometimes all 4 of them are low. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2. But monitoring all these help you begin the process of spiraling up versus spiraling down. It's when we don't check these 4 tires or we hand over our power to check these 4 tires to someone else that our identity starts to crumbling and it starts becoming fragile. So she moves into this, she accepts this position at this family law firm, loves it. Last I talked to her, she'd been there, I think, 15, 20 years, has several kids. She's able to go to all their games, loves the role that she's getting to play and owning her whole 4 tires. And also said, yeah, my professors were super disappointed in me. Do you see the difference in the shift? She said, I don't really care. It's no longer about me earning your acceptance of my 4 tires, fulfillment, affirmation, growth, achievement. I have to ask myself that. So in spite of your disappointment for me not taking these huge law firms because I was top of my class, I need to be able to do what's right for me. And I'll never forget that story because that's where I extracted so much of my research of what helps people spiral up during transition time and what causes some to spiral down during transition time. How we allow our identity to form during transition time is critical. These 4 tires and monitoring them is what has helped me during my transition. It's what I do with my clients. And it's all from research. It's from these amazing, brave souls who stepped forward and told me their life stories many years ago. And I've never forgotten it. And a lot of this is in some of my first book, The Life You're Made For. We're all looking for that life that we're made for. And it's all connected to identity formation. How we step into that identity formation makes all the difference. So I just wanted to make you aware of this. Please monitor those 4 tires, recognize what they need. And if you want more support in that, again, check out my book, The Life You're Made For. I talk about the 4 tires, and even the coaching journal that goes along with it allows you to break down, what are my 4 tires? Where am I feeling fulfilled? Where am I not feeling fulfilled? Where do I need more affirmation? Where do I want my growth? Where do my achievement come from? It's getting back in the driver's seat of your own car and saying, wait a minute, I want to go after the life that I'm made for. And I get to check these 4 tires and I get to assess which ones are low. And then I get to figure out how to fill them back up again. Isn't that cool? I love it, this research, because it's so empowering and it's really changed lives in the work that I've done. So kind of wanted to give you the secret sauce behind the scenes and say, go for it. Check your own 4 tires. And again, my book goes over a lot of this so that you can check your own 4 tires, particularly if you're transitioning, or it'll help you understand transitions in your past of those that went really well and those that didn't go so well. Probably had to do something with these 4 tires. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it because it's what I saw in all the research and in all the work that I've done with people. Helping yourself understand these 4 tires will help you keep your identity growing strong and strengthening it. And you're slowing down, asking the right questions. It's not about how to keep up in life. It's not about how to do more. It's about how to slow down and assess your own sense of well-being and saying, where am I feeling fulfilled? Where do I want more affirmation, or where do I need it? Where do I want to give it to myself? Where do I need it externally? Also, where do I want to grow? And what do I want to be achieving? All right. As usual, cheering you guys on.